Hi, I'm Fred Finley, owner of FineLine Weddings, and this video is basically to help you, the viewer, learn everything there is to know about having your wedding album done by us. We're going to go over some different sections. We're going to cover first the general features of our albums, what makes them unique, what makes them special. We're going to go over the different sizes we have available. We're going to go over the different leather options you have to choose from. We're going to go over different upgrade options to customize your wedding album. We're going to cover the very important thing, which is the actual design process, and we'll walk through how you pick out the photos, what your design will look like, and how it will be unique by having it done by us. And then we'll wrap up by covering another important part, which is parent albums and parent books. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is basically the general features of the album that we offer. So the main album that we recommend and we suggest and we offer to our brides is our Tuscany Contemporary album. We do offer other variety styles of albums. If you're looking for something different, at that point what we recommend is setting up a meeting, coming in. I'll sit down with you and I'll show you the different types. The reason that this is our standard album is, first of all, it's our most popular. About 99% of our brides go with this album. It's my personal favorite. It's a beautiful album, has a lot of different options with it. But the main reason is that when you are looking at something long term, this is the design that we feel is going to have the most life, that it's not going to become outdated or look like a certain time period. So anyways, let's get started with the features. Again, this is called our Tuscany Contemporary album. So just that name right there, Tuscany Contemporary album. The first part of that, Tuscany, that's basically the series, meaning that it's a leather-bound album. So it's full leather, the cover from front, spine, back, and you're going to have a variety of leathers to choose from, which we'll get into a little bit later. So first of all, it's a leather-bound album. Now the contemporary part of it. Basically, when you have a wedding album, this is a contemporary design, which basically just means the structure, the build, the design of the outside of the book is just a little bit more of a modern look versus a classic or traditional album. A classic or traditional album, it's going to be a similar album, leather bound, but the leather is going to be padded. There'll be some padding between the book itself and the leather that just give it a softer, rounder touch, feel, and look to it. This doesn't do that. It's a little bit more of a modern look. That's why it's called a contemporary album. Now, when you're looking at different albums, comparing albums from one photographer to the next, basically it all comes down to quality. We've been doing albums for a long time, and we've worked with a lot of different manufacturers over the years, and basically what we assure you is that the Tuscany Contemporary, actually every album that we offer from the manufacturer that we use, over all the years of doing this, we've made sure that we're offering the highest absolute quality. Now, basically, where is the quality judged? A couple things, really. First, the quality of the leather. There's a lot of excellent leather options from our manufacturers, so all the leathers on the outside are beautiful leather options for you to choose. But then once you get into the inside, basically, you're judging quality on two main things. The thickness of the page, okay, and the seam down the middle. The thickness of the pages from our manufacturer are actually the thickest pages that you can get. We've compared our manufacturer with every other manufacturer out there that we've used in the past and some other ones that we were maybe interested in using at different times, and our pages are the thickest page options out there. So number one, you're getting a very sturdy book. And the other thing is the hairline seam down the middle. Okay, this is the thinnest seam that you're going to find in any bridal album, and so that gives us a lot of flexibility in how we can lay out the pages and so forth. So basically, again, to recap, the type of album that we recommend that is our standard, most common album, are Tuscany Contemporary Tuscany Contemporary album. It's a leather-bound album. It's got that contemporary look and feel. It's got thick, sturdy pages, and it's got a very thin hairline seam down the middle between the pages. So those are the general features. Next, we're going to get into comparing the different size options that we offer. So next, quickly, I want to talk about size. So basically, right now, we offer our albums in two sizes, 8x8 and 10x10. When you get an album, or if I give you a starting price, our album starting price is an 8x8 album, or you can upgrade to a 10x10. Some of our brides do like to stick at the 8x8. Sometimes I prefer the 8x8. It's a nice size. or you can do the 10 by 10. A lot of times people like to just go with the 10 by 10. The old term bigger is better, but also the bigger pages allow for your pictures ultimately to show up bigger as well, if you're going to kind of max out the number of pictures that you're putting in the book to fill up the pages and stuff like that. So again, 8 by 8, 10 by 10. So there's your side-by-side comparison. So earlier I mentioned that with a Tuscany series album, basically you have a variety of leathers that you can choose from. So I'm going to cover just a little bit, just go over an idea of how many different leathers you have to choose from. What you're looking at here is actually the most popular, which is called the Onyx Black. It's basically a black leather, but it's got a little bit of a pattern to it, almost like kind of almost like a snake skin. Now the standard leathers that you get to choose from are two types. There's vegan and bonded. So there's 5 different vegan leathers. I'm sorry, bonded leathers. There's 5 different bonded leathers that you can choose from. Again, the Onyx Black, Espresso, Matte Black, Chestnut, or Royal Navy. And then there's 8 vegan leathers you can choose from, which include black, nutmeg, brandy, coffee bean, navy, gray, wine, and cherry. Usually the blacks and browns are our most popular, and then with some of the colors, the espresso, wine, and the navies or the Royal Navy have been popular as well. Now the nice feature is, we'll talk about the proofing process in a little bit, but you do get an opportunity to see a proof version of the album. Basically it's an interactive thing that I'll talk about shortly, but you will get to see what the leather is going to look like before you make that final commitment. I've had brides lean one way, then see a virtual proof, and then decide to change their mind and try different leather. One of the upgrades that you can also do, we'll get into all the upgrades next, but since we're talking about leathers, you can also upgrade to an exotic leather, which is really neat. I'll go over a few of the options here. Stormy Night, Ostrich Almond, Ostrich Black, Ostrich Sienna, Ostrich Walnut. So there's 4 different kind of ostrich skin textures. Then there's the crocodile line. There's the polished crocodile bone, polished crocodile lime, polished crocodile mahogany, polished crocodile toffee, polished crocodile chestnut, and then rustic crocodile espresso. And then there's also what's called vintage tulle. We have a bunch of samples in our office. Right here, I'll show you quickly. I believe this is a sample of the rustic crocodile espresso. So here's an example of a Tuscany album upgraded to an exotic leather. And then I have one more sample on hand with me here. This is the vintage tulle black. So again, beyond just the standard leathers, you can also upgrade to an exotic leather. So we just talked about one of the upgrade options, which was the leather, and you can upgrade from the standard leather to an exotic leather. 2 other upgrades I want to talk about briefly are the boxes. Now, when you get your album, it's going to come in a standard box, which is a cardboard box like this. And when you open it up, your album would be inside. And what's really neat is that every album comes in basically it's called a pillowcase slip cover, but basically your album would sit in here in this pillowcase slip cover, and this is what's going to keep the dust off your book and protect it. It'll also come, because of our manufacturer, everything is made right here in the United States. So when your album arrives, you'll actually have a little card, just says Made in America, and on the back it'll have just a general outline of how to care and protect for your album long term, to basically protect your investment, but also to have it not only for the next 10, 20, 30 years, but also to be able to pass it down to your kids and future generations. Now, or you can actually upgrade the box. So for a small fee, you can actually upgrade the box as one of the add-ons. So you can go from the standard box, which is right here, to the premium box, which is a sturdier box. It's leatherette bound and has a magnetic clasp with a lid that opens up, and it's a little bit easier to use as a presentation box as well. So that's one option that you can do for upgrade. Okay, standard box, premium box. Also, let's see here. Now, when you get your album, the first thing you're going to do, of course, is you're going to choose your leather cover. But another upgrade that you can do is called embossing. So on this example here, are some examples of embossed text. Okay, and I'll try to hold it steady here. You can do up to 3 lines. You can do 1, you can do 2, you can do 3, you can do up to 3 lines. So right here on the cover, we see an example, our wedding album. And then down here in the corner, you'll see the bride and groom's name and wedding date. Sometimes I have couples just stick to 2, just do the lower corner, name and wedding date, or just 1 line of text across the front, or all 3. If you do all 3, it would generally look like this. 1 across the middle, and then 2 down here in the corner below. So that's called front cover embossing. You have a couple choices of color, and basically you're going to choose the color for what's going to work best on the leather that you've chosen. You can do silver, black, or gold. So when you do your front cover embossing, you have those options, silver, black, or gold, and basically will help you choose the one that's going to look best to actually show up on the leather color that you've chosen. Now, so far we've talked about the construction of the album, what it looks like, the sizes, the leathers, and so forth. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is the inside. What is it going to look like? What's your album going to look like? So before I get into it, we actually have a process, and let me back up a little bit and explain how we got to this point. We've been doing albums for years, and what we learned quickly at the beginning was that it is very, very difficult for a bride who's getting 700, 800, 900, 1,000 plus photos to sit down with 800, 900 photos, or however many photos might have been produced from the wedding, and pick out their favorite 100 photos for an album. Basically, what you're doing in that process is you're starting with a large number, and you're trying to basically dwindle it down to reach a certain number that you're trying to put into your album. And to give an example, years ago, I remember one time, we had a bride, and she started planning her album, and like 6 months later I ran into her and I said, hey, how's the process coming to picking your photos? We're ready to make that album for you as soon as you're good. And she's like, oh, I'm almost there. I'm getting real close. I'm down to about 400 photos. So that was right then we learned that, on the bride's end, or the bride and groom, or the couple's end, it's a difficult process to start with a lot of photos and try to dwindle it down. So, and the reality was, most couples were experiencing that same thing. It was taking too long for something that they've already paid for, and it's just a long, difficult process. So what we decided to do was reverse the process. So we here at FineLine, we do something very unique. This is not something that's industry standard. This is not an idea that we've gathered from other photographers in other markets or states. This is just something that we've come up with exclusively on our own for our couples, and it works fantastic. So what we do is, rather have you start with a bunch of pictures and try to narrow it down, we have you start with 0 and build to the number of photos that you're going to use. And the way we do that is we created a design, which we call our FineLine Bridal Design. And basically what it is, it's a design that we've put together to help tell the story of your day, to make sure that you're putting the correct types of photos in the book, but allows you to pick ultimately which photos and what number. So anyways, what exactly am I saying? So let's just walk through this album here, which is a pretty good example, and I'll show you what we mean. So the process, the way this works is, after your wedding, when your pictures are ready, we're going to send you, of course, all your digital files, and if you have an album included in your package, you're going to get a form. And that form's going to walk you through on how to pick out the photos for your album. So rather than taking months and months and months, this is something you can sit down and in a few days put together. So how does the FineLine Bridal Design form work and look like? So you're going to have this form, and it's going to say on page 1, pick out your favorite horizontal photo of the bride and groom. Pretty easy. Now you're not sitting through 1,000 photos and just trying to dwindle it down. Now you're just picking out maybe a handful of your favorite bride and groom photos, or favorite photo of the couple, and picking your favorite horizontal one. And that's going to be your opening page. And then, of course, we will put in your names, your wedding date down below here. Okay? Page 2 and 3. On that form, it's going to say for pages 2 and 3, pick out a photo that you'd love to see as a giant spread across 2 pages. So as part of the form, you'll see we do a combination. We want to give you some full page spreads, some individual full pages, as well as some collage pages. So everybody's album will look unique, but you're going to get a mixture of collages, full pages, and full spreads. So page 2 and 3 will say pick a photo that you'd love to see as a full spread. Page 4 and 5. It's going to say pick out your favorite photos during the bride getting ready or just the getting ready process. So, and even on the form, it'll give you a minimum number to pick and a maximum number to pick. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but this page might say pick your favorite 6 to 9 photos of moments during the bride getting ready. And it'll, even in the form, it'll give you ideas of what types of photos to pick. So in here you'll see some detail shots, some shots of mom helping the bride get dressed. Then what we have is what we call the portrait spread. So now we have full pages. It'll say pick your favorite portrait of the bride and your favorite portrait of the groom, or one of each couple. Okay, so we take advantage, we make sure that portraits end up in your album, as well as take advantage of full pages. We want to recognize the bridal party, and that's part of the story of your day. So here's a spread that says pick your favorite so many pictures of the bridal party. And we make sure to indicate, of course, we'll put the text in here, the bridal party, and then you'll pick the pictures that you want. Moving on, we call this the extra spread. This is basically, in the design, it's an extra spread right before the ceremony, and we just call it pre-ceremony details, and we say just pick some additional details or moments before the ceremony began that you'd like to showcase. The reason it's also called the extra spread, because if you just really want to have a lot of reception photos, this particular spread can move somewhere out throughout the book. So rather than having more pre-ceremony moments, if you want to have more reception moments, we'll move this spread to the end and you can pick more photos. Generally, this is the kind of a spread for more pre-ceremony moments. Then we get into the ceremony itself. Now we want to set the stage. Again, we're telling the story of your day, again, keeping in mind future generations. So we want to set up where was the ceremony take place. So we'll have the name of the church, the town, and the state listed in here, just to show off, where the ceremony was held, some detailed establishing shots, and so forth. Then we get into what we call the ceremony moments. Again, I think this is choose a minimum of 6 up to 9 photos. So these are different moments from the ceremony. Family. So we want to keep in mind that we want to tell the story of the family that was there on both sides. So this is the bride's family spread. And the very next page is our groom's family spread. This particular groom, I believe they were from Europe, so he didn't have too much family over here during the ceremony, so there's only 2 pictures. But generally, I think it's upwards of 7 photos per family spread. Moving on, we have a spread dedicated to just bride and groom moments. Most of the time, this would be the photo session after the ceremony before you head to the reception. So here's a spread just for beautiful pictures of the bride and groom together. We have couples pick moments throughout the day, so it doesn't have to just be during that photo shoot. That's the idea, but it can be whatever you want. The reception, same thing, just like at the church, we want to set the story, set the stage, where was the reception. So we have some different establishing shots, the picture of the cake, a picture of the room and the details, and of course the name of the venue and where it was held. And as I get the next page taken turn here, first dance. So we actually dedicate a whole spread to the first dance. So we'll tell you to pick out your favorite photos from the first dance. We'll have our first dance and of course the name of your first dance song. Again, telling the story, but always keeping in mind this isn't just for you, this is for future generations that you're passing it down to. And so future generations might open up and say, what was our parents' first dance song? Where was the reception held at? What did it look like? Then what we have is 2 spreads of what we call reception moments. So this is the first spread, reception moments. Usually the first spread, again, we'll give you some pointers of what type of pictures to pick out. But this is generally some of the more important highlight moments, parent dances, cutting the cake, moments like that. Then there's a spread, usually the couples use it for just the other fun moments, just dancing on the dance floor, having fun with their guests, maybe some bouquet and garter tosses, things like that. This is called reception moments too. And then we conclude with, again, just like the front, you're going to pick out another photo of the bride and groom that you'd like to close with. And we have some text here that says the beginning ... On the form, we say that that's the default text, but you can change it. So usually our couples will customize it. They'll write down what they want the final page of their album to say, or they just leave it alone and get the default text, the beginning ... So that's the bridal design. Again, you're going to pick the photos. You'll ultimately pick the number of photos, but it's a structure, and it makes the process go so much better, quicker. It helps you pick out the correct photos. It makes sure that the story is getting told properly. It makes sure that the details are there so that the album truly is the story of your day and helps pass it down from generation to generation. And the other thing I want to mention is the design off the bat is a 15-page, 30-side design. So off the bat, it's 15 pages, 30 sides, which is above industry standard. Most photographers, when you get a quote on an album, they're usually quoting you on 10-page, 20 sides. Some photographers will do a little bit better and do 12 pages, 24 sides. This is 15 pages, 30 sides. So by default, right off the bat, you're already getting an album with more pages than most other photographers off the bat. You can add more, but again, right off the bat, you're already getting 15, 30, when a lot of times the industry standard that you're getting quoted for with other photographers is 10 pages, 20 sides. So again, you'd get the form after the wedding, you'd write down the file names of the pictures you want, you'd send that back. So here's how the process works. You send the form back to me. We'll do the design internally. I usually say to our brides, give us 2 to 3 weeks from the time that we receive your information, give us 2 to 3 weeks, we'll make a design. What we do first is we put the design together and then we email you a low-res proof version to look at. So that's your opportunity to see if maybe you wrote down the wrong names of a photo, or now that you see the design you want to add a photo, take a photo out. Basically, we'll keep doing that until you say everything's good, I like the design, it's good to go. The next step is when we do that virtual album proof. So now once we have the design approved by you, we'll move into the virtual album proof. Well, you'll see the design in a book form virtually from cover to cover. You'll see what the color of the cover looks like. You'll see what your embossed text looks like if you decided to do that add-on. And you'll even actually virtually see how the pages fold, so you can see if maybe if there's a seam running through something that you don't want it to run through. I do assure you that when we do the design internally, we take all those considerations in, so usually we're not going to put together a bad design for you, obviously. Once you like what you see, you give us the green light. That's when we get the album ordered for you. From there, it usually takes about 10 days from the time we punch through the order till the time it gets delivered to you. Or if you want to pick it up here, it would arrive here and you can pick up your album here, and we keep it safely until you come and pick it up. It's a pretty simple process, and again, you'll see it every step of the way, and it doesn't get ordered until you're 100% happy with it. So that's the whole process. So one last thing we're going to talk about in the next section is parent books and parent albums. Now, in addition to the quality of the albums that we offer, the ones that our manufacturer produces, our manufacturer offers an amazing option which is called parent companion books. So now, of course, whenever we do an album, most couples want to have books for the parents, and a lot of time with other photographers that can be a very expensive thing, but not at FineLine. What we do is we actually have 2 different options, which we'll cover both. A lot of couples are just looking for a very affordable, cost-effective means to give books to their parents. So right off the bat, if you do your album with FineLine, the first option you have is what's called a parent companion book. Now, we just went through the design, so let me show you. I'll just open it up here, and you should immediately begin to recognize the design. Okay, so this would be an example of a parent companion book, and basically what they're going to get is page for page, they're going to get the exact same design. So again, that's why we also emphasize that FineLine bridal design, so it tells the story. Because now that the parents are going to get the same thing, or this could be for grandparents and so forth, we want to make sure we're telling that story. It's also another reason why specifically we make sure that in our bridal design that we do the spreads, the bride's family and the groom's family. So that way when you give them the parent books, you didn't forget to include the family, and you didn't maybe just go heavy just doing bride's family and forget to include the groom's family or something along those lines. Now, a really nice feature with the parent companion books is by default, you get 2. I can't just do 1. I can do 2, I can do 3, 4, 5, I can do any number except 1. So by default, you're getting 2. So it's 2 books. Generally 1 for the bride's parents, 1 for the groom's parents, or for grandparents, or however you want to distribute. If you have one side of the family is divorced and need a third, we can do that. Okay, but by default, you're already getting 2. Now, the nice thing with this is the only decision you have to make is, do I want this or do I not want this? You don't have to choose size, you don't have to choose leather colors, you don't have to put text in the front. There's no decisions, there's no upgrades, there's no add-ons. Every parent companion book will look exactly like this, and the inside will look exactly like what your album is. So basically, it's just a much more cost-effective book. It's always going to be this black fabric cover. It's always going to be 8 by 8, and it's always going to be pressed pages matte pages on the inside. So again, the only decision you have to make is, do I want it? Now, occasionally we'll get couples that want to get their parents a nicer album rather than just getting a book. They want to get them something nicer. They don't want to spend what they're spending on their broad album, but they want to get something nicer. We also have an option for that. So, or what you can do for the parents is you can upgrade to a parent album. So rather than doing the companion book, okay, you can do a parent album. So this is an example of our parent album. Black leather, still 8x8, okay, but on the inside, now you're going to have thicker flush-mounted pages like you would in the Bridal album. So you're going to have a leatherette cover instead of fabric, okay, and you're also going to have nicer pages, a little bit nicer printing and quality and structure. Of course, it costs a little bit more. These are sold individually, so if you just want one, you can do 1, 2, 3, any number, but you can just do one. One last thing to show too, and then if you really want to do something nice for the parents, the grandparents, or whoever might be getting this, you can also get a nice presentation box. That's not an option with the parent books. Again, like I said, with the parent books, there's no options. The only question is, do you want it or not? And it's that simple. With the parent album, you can do just the album, or for an additional fee, you can also do a box which is similar to that premium bridal box, perfect size for the 8x8 book, leatherette bounded, real pretty stitching around the edges, nice for display. So basically in this video, we've just went over everything. Our standard album, the Tuscany Contemporary Design, it's a modern album with leather options. You can upgrade to exotic leathers. We went over the design itself, how that process works, how you pick out the photos, how we design it, how you approve it before it gets made, and then we went over the different options for the parents as well. I should cover everything, but if you have any other questions, don't hesitate, feel free to contact us at any time.